And welcome into the roundtable. Bill Priestley here with you. And it's been an interesting watch to see how entities have decided to move from what is the internal combustion engine to perhaps a hydrogen, to perhaps an electric, to perhaps other ideas as well. But maybe there's one thing that perhaps has been forgotten a little bit along the way, and that maybe is a step between the two, or perhaps a final solution: renewable diesel. Joining us to talk about it is Keith Wilson, President and CEO of Titan Freight Systems in Portland, Oregon. Keith, thanks so much for joining us.
You're welcome. Good morning, Bill. And I am one of those very tired persons after watching all that basketball yesterday.
Yeah. So let's talk about renewable diesel, because this was a subject I remember last year, say in the summer or so, maybe even before that. This got a lot of talk, and there was a lot of more headlines around it. And then all of a sudden, electric pops up, and I haven't heard so much from it since. What have you been seeing in terms of this? Was a really good idea. And I remember your segment on net zero carbon, when you talked at extensive length about this, and people can go back and watch it. But first off, let's start at the beginning. What is renewable diesel? What are its advantages over the current gasoline diesel system?
Certainly. I think what you want to start with is first generation, second generation. First generation is biodiesel. Second generation is renewable diesel. A lot of people think that they're the same, but they are completely different processes. Biodiesel is a chemical process where the molecules are worked through a process, and then renewable diesel is a distilled product, just like petroleum diesel. In fact, it's refined in the same facilities. With that distilled product, you get a very clean, pure system. It has a cetane level of about 80 versus petroleum diesel, which is at a 40. Burns super hot and clean in your engine, which reduces and removes a tremendous amount of the soot that creates the exhaust system maintenance challenges that we're always forced to deal with.
So let's jump through the economics of the situation. What economically, essentially, I mean, is this more expensive? Is it less expensive in terms of, how will this affect the American truck driver if they use it from a bottom line standpoint?
So there are two financial benefits, and then there's a tremendous qualitative benefit. So the financial benefit is, first off, we're getting a 2-cent per mile reduction in maintenance cost. We don't regen our engines. We don't change our DPF filters. Those challenges have all but gone away. We haven't had to change out one box since we've converted over 3 years ago. The other part of that is in Oregon, we're currently paying about anywhere from 2 to 10 cents per gallon less for renewable diesel than petroleum diesel. So we're really hitting on all cylinders when it comes to lower overall operating costs. The qualitative benefit is my team, my drivers, my customers all love it, because we're not producing soot in the workplace, and our mechanics and their spouses have actually noticed a difference. So it's a tremendous benefit in the safety aspect, where we don't have those 40 toxins coming into our workplace, which are really prevalent with petroleum diesel.
It really is got some serious advantages to it. I'm surprised that we haven't been talking about it a little bit more. In terms of its overall use, obviously there is a tremendous push within the industry to go electric, or to go hydrogen, or to try and find some of these other forms other than diesel, whatever you want to call it at this point. When you look at renewable diesel, do you see this as a step between regular diesel to get to those forms of energy, or is this a final solution that could perhaps work across the board?
Stepped process, right, Bill? It allows us, I talk in terms of it's a bridge energy source. Bridge being our goal is electric, but kind of giving you the understanding of the difference between renewable and electric. We are going to receive the first 3 electric trucks in 2 months in Oregon, and they are 3.5 times the cost of a ICE vehicle. And then we also have to put in a charging station. That charging station alone for 6 chargers, 800 kilowatts, is going to be $1 million. So I tell everybody, going electric isn't just buying a truck, but it's almost like buying the gas station as well. So we need a moderate price transition that will allow us to lower GHG and surface pollutions today. Renewable diesel does that because it's really magic. As soon as you use it, a lot of the problems you were experiencing just go away. So it's a great transition fuel while we focus on electric, but electric is going to be 20, 30, 40, and 50 years away.
Yeah, it's definitely got, but it's certainly on people's timetables. That's certainly the least of it at that point there as well. You, I believe, have been working on a bill with the Oregon legislature. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so with the experiences I've received, as well as working with other peers across the nation, whether it be Old Dominion or Penske, what I've learned is that in Oregon, we are in chronic drought. I found that there's a link between the black carbon that is emitted from petroleum diesel to premature snowmelt. Reduce petroleum diesel, in other words, reduce the soot on the mountains, we immediately can counteract warming and and protect our snow for our farmers and our agricultural community. And so a team and I have put together a bill to slowly transition Oregon away from petroleum diesel, replacing it with renewable diesel while we wait for electric. So we can lower local emissions immediately, preserving our snow and snowpack for today and for generations ahead.
Let me ask just about the roadblocks that you've been experiencing in trying to put this out. Obviously, you've got an incredibly good product that, again, lowers carbon emissions. It helps with maintenance to an incredible degree. What's been the difficulty in terms of getting it out? Has it just been not the PR, if you will, to try and put it out there? Or what have you seen that has maybe been the roadblock to try and seeing this as, are people, I've heard that some people would say, well, you look at renewable diesel and it's, I don't know what this is, but it sounds like diesel, so I'm not going to use it. What have you hit in terms of roadblocks, in terms of trying to get this out to be a more widespreadly used fuel?
That's a great question. So 3 years ago, when we first brought the bill, renewable diesel wasn't well known. And there's only about a billion gallons in the U.S. Today, we're forecasted in 2024 to have 5 billion gallons. So you can see it's a supply issue. Then it comes down to 3 years ago, everybody thought renewable diesel was biodiesel. And I will tell you personally, my mechanics, when I told them we were going to go to renewable diesel, immediately conflated that and said, we're not using biodiesel. It took me months to explain to them that it's a completely different product. So that's what we've been doing this last 3 years is messaging.
Let me stop you right there, just so you can clarify. What is the difference between renewable diesel and biodiesel?
So biodiesel is a chemical process. So it's a glycerin product. So think about glycerin in soap. It's like putting soap in your engine. It's going to clog up your engine, and that's what biodiesel does. Renewable diesel is distilled in a petroleum diesel refinery, but it uses feedstock of like animal fat, used cooking grease, soybean, cornmeal, things like that are renewables that really lower that GHG. But it's so clean and pure and clear, it burns so clean in your engine, reducing all of the maintenance issues that you would have. Did that answer your question, Bill?
Yeah, so let me just go back to then, if you hadn't already finished your answer concerning roadblocks. I know we were talking about PR, talking about defining differences. Obviously, you have a supply issue there as well. Yeah. Anything else?
Well, now if we fast forward today, everybody in Oregon knows that renewable diesel is a magic fuel. But the concern is about supply. And so that's really what the bill is so we've created a slow transition over to renewable diesel. So 2026 is just the Portland area. 2028 will be the west side of the state, and 2030 will be the remainder of the state. So it's a real responsible transition. So everybody's for it, especially renewable diesel. We're just concerned about the supply. And so I wrote 2 off-ramps. Under no circumstances can the price be any higher than petroleum, which will protect every business in Oregon. So we're going to really have a lower overall energy cost. And the second is supply. At any time that our Department of Energy determines that the supply will not meet our future demand, we can pause and just pivot to petroleum diesel because they play in the same tank. They're the exact same chemical. There's no difference whatsoever. It's just about the feedstock that's used to produce the final product.
So then who is the ideal customer, or who is the ideal person that you would like to kind of step in? Obviously, you can't make it available to everybody immediately, but who needs to start taking a look at this, and especially from maybe even a geographical standpoint? Are you looking at people just in the Pacific Northwest, or are you going to expand upon that and say, all right, well, maybe somebody else who's just coming in and leaving can do it? Who should be checking this out right now?
You know, it comes down to the mechanics, Bill. Because Oregon has what's called a clean fuels program, every gallon of diesel and every gallon of gasoline today pays about 8 cents into a clean fuels credit bucket. That credit allows us to buy the cost of renewable diesel down, making it lower cost than petroleum diesel. There's only 3 states in the union that have that. Washington just started as of January 1st. Then there's Oregon, and then California has their low carbon fuel standard. If a state doesn't have a clean fuels program, they're essentially not going to have the financial benefits of buying down the cost of renewable diesel to replace petroleum diesel. So it's not something that we're going to be able to spread throughout the United States. Oregon has the strongest clean fuels program. So our renewable diesel prices is lower than petroleum diesel. So we're leveraging that previous legislation to supercharge our local economy. But this law is only something that could happen in Oregon to benefit Oregon, which is really good.
I should also say one of the roadblocks that you're talking about is simply PR to get it out to other states. I'm assuming those that are perhaps bordering Pacific Northwest states, if you want to spread it in that way, or even have you had the opportunity to move? I think you have had the opportunity to go south into California, correct?
We venture sometimes, but primarily the Northwest. So it's Oregon, Washington, Idaho, and then a little bit of British Columbia. I should say way back, the reason why it's going to work in Oregon is, we have 326,000 trucks that are registered to operate in Oregon, but only 12% of those are actually based in Oregon. Because we're a travel state, in other words, California to Washington or BC, for us to be able to use renewable diesel while a carrier is in the state, if we can make it lower cost and it's a premium product, we expect truckers to fuel up here and be able to use the really clean green fuel in our state, really protecting our mountains as they drive along the freeways. Our I-5 is right along our Cascade Mountain range, and that is subject to the soot and the snowmelt, and that's where our droughts are really originating.
Given your current outlook about how things are at this point, what would be your realistic forecast? And then also, what would be your ideal forecast if you were to see renewable diesel take off in whatever way it possibly can?
Short term, you're right. It's definitely a big lift. My team and I are optimistic, but Oregon is a small state. We're hopeful to do it. Short term, I would hope we can pass this bill in this next several months to really start addressing local warming. Absent that, we'll just continue to plug away and continue to just evangelize on the product and the benefits it can have on our state. Long-term wise, my hope is we can reduce and remove petroleum diesel, but I think the future is electric, but it's 20 years away. My electric trucks are only going to be short haul, Bill. In other words, I'm going to get 150 miles per day from a Class 8. Now compare that with an ICE truck that can go 600 miles and do 2 shifts for me. It's going to take some time. We do see outlook with electric hydrogen, and we do see solid state. But I would hope that renewable diesel is slowly starting to expand beyond Oregon once we get this law passed.
Keith, real quick, where can people go to learn more?
As far as Titan, you come to our website. You can certainly email me, Bill. And as far as renewable diesel, you can certainly go to any one of the major, super major oil companies and then start talking to your local fuel supplier and asking for this product. You will be absolutely amazed. And at 59, I rarely get to use the word magic, but this is one of those magic moments that we have to just change so many of the issues we have with our engines and its operations.
Keith, it's been great talking to you, and good luck with this. And obviously, it's got tremendous benefits, and hopefully people don't overlook it too much. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you, Bill.
All right, Keith Wilson, President and CEO of Titan Freight Systems in Portland, Oregon. We'll take a break. We'll come back right after this.